Computer Science 1 and 2, you're going to still learn programming in Python. I tell my students this actually a lot is I tricked you. This class isn't actually a Python programming class. We're going to learn Python, but really what we're doing is illustrating the concepts of computer science using a language. So the ultimate goal there is you should be able to pick up most languages.
So welcome to MCC Office Hours. Our guest today is Ben Say, one of our faculty members here at MCC. This podcast is a series where we take an in-depth journey into the world of IT at MCC, specifically focusing on career paths, and we'll get insight from community members. We'll have candid conversations with our dedicated staff, faculty, and again, other community members, just driving invaluable insight as to what happens in the space of IT. Today, we're going to again join Ben Say, faculty member in our MCC IT department. He's going to share his insights, experiences, and recommendations for current and prospective students in this space. So again, welcome, Ben. Glad to have you here today.
Great, Art. Thanks for having me.
Gotcha. So Ben, tell us a little bit about your background and your journey into IT and how you ended up being an instructor here at MCC.
Sure, yeah. So I'm going to give you the quick version of quite a long journey, actually. I first decided to do computer science when I was getting ready to head off to college, and I did the bad thing, which is I picked the college before the major, which don't do that, but it's ended up working okay for me. And so I was going through all the lists of the majors at this college I knew I was attending and said, oh, computer science, I think I could do that, right? That seems interesting. Well, I got into that and had some really great instructors, professors, teachers in there, and decided before I got my 4-year degree that I wanted to teach for a living. I decided that pretty early on, and so went on to get a master's in computer science, went off to do the doctorate thing, and learned as part of that process that you don't need a doctorate to teach. And in fact, it might get in your way a little bit. And so I ended up dropping into industry and worked in healthcare data analytics, doing full stack web development for about 7 years out in Colorado. And that was just great. Working in the healthcare industry is really exciting. Got to do a little bit of kind of my teaching passion there. Finally found an opening in teaching, jumped into that. And then about 5 years into that, moved out here to Omaha, Nebraska, and started teaching with MCC. And I've been with MCC about 2 years now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So, Ben, please share with us, how does the IT curriculum at MCC specifically, and I'll pause a minute, maybe go into a little depth about the area of IT that you support with our area, and how does that curriculum prepare students for real-world challenges they may face?
Absolutely, Art. Yeah, so I am primarily coordinating our transfer degree pathways, which means that MCC is not your final education destination. From here, we set you up to transfer your credits to pursue a 4-year degree after earning an associate's at MCC, whether that's locally at one of our primary transfer destinations such as UNO or any number of other great places here in Omaha and beyond. And really, that's the real world that we're setting you up for. And ultimately, of course, then that partnership between MCC and these transfer institutions are setting you up for the success in the real world in industry, in a career. And so we start off by giving a solid educational foundation. There's lots of great reasons for starting off at community college when you're pursuing a 4-year degree that I don't know if it's readily apparent a lot of times to students, where you have that opportunity to take college classes maybe as like a dual credit thing even in high school, and then continue on to get that 4-year associate's degree. And then from there, have that solid transfer pathway into the university setting. And so that's how we're really setting that foundation.
Okay. And so, Ben, can you maybe differentiate one of our previous guests, colleague Jason McCune leads our programming pathway, and the pathway that you oversee, computer science and MIS transfer. Can you differentiate those two for us, please?
Oh, absolutely. So a lot of these the transfer pathways and the programming overlap in a lot of ways. They really do. How we're different is if you know you want to get into computer programming, then you might find yourself looking at the computer programming pathways here. You'll listen to Jason's episode. That's really great stuff. If you decide, I want to do something maybe a little different in computer science, it's such a broad field. If I want to get into maybe some of the newest research in artificial intelligence, for example, you might want that 4-year degree. Or if whatever you decide to do, you start thinking, I think I do want to go to the 4-year degree. Maybe I want to get a master's. Maybe I want to get a doctorate. That's kind of the difference here. We're going to be studying a lot of the same material here at the community college level, right? We're going to both have programming classes. In fact, you're going to take some of the same classes in both these pathways. Mm-hmm. We have some unique classes in the transfer pathway that we have designed specifically so that they do transfer. And so that's kind of a big difference you're going to see there. But then also it's really depending on your destination. Okay. What do you want to do with the degree? Okay. And there's a choice there based on that.
Gotcha. And maybe one level deeper, can you maybe differentiate some of those courses that might exist on this transfer side that are not on the programming side?
Right. So our transfer degree pathway, for example, has a course like discrete math. It's one of the courses that you won't take on that programming pathway side, but is actually a prerequisite at many universities for their upper level computer science classes. Mm-hmm. And so we offer that class here and prepare those students for that upper level classes so they don't have a delay when they transfer in taking those upper level classes. We also have different versions of a couple of programming classes. So the computer science 1 and 2, you're going to still learn programming in Python. I tell my students this actually a lot is I say, I tricked you. This class isn't actually a Python programming class. You know, this computer science 1, computer science 2. We're going to learn Python, but really what we're doing is illustrating the concepts of computer science using a language. So the ultimate goal there is once you get a 4-year computer science degree, you should be able to pick up most languages. You have the theoretical foundation to do so. Mm-hmm. You might not be an expert in an individual programming language or programming paradigm like full stack at that point. Mm-hmm. But you have the solid foundation to pick it up. And so there's kind of a difference there of, do you want to get your 2-year associates knowing full stack development, go right into full stack development and great, have fun, that's awesome, it's a great path, right? Mm-hmm. Or do you want to maybe you don't know what you're wanting to get into, or you want to get into something that's not kind of a standard pathway. Mm-hmm. And that's maybe more of a reason to get into the transfer and then take it from there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So Ben, what can you share with us, the audience? What are some common misconceptions about working in this space, programming that involves some of the computer science concepts, and maybe give me some examples of targeted career paths that you touched on it a little bit, but maybe elaborating on that further for us.
Yeah, so some of the misconceptions in working in computer science in general is really, this is something that I think us in academia try to fight a lot, is the stereotype of in the media of what is a computer programmer. Mm-hmm. And you'll see the picture of the hacker with the the black hood over their head in front of a screen with the green light reflecting on their face. Mm-hmm. And really we're more of a group of folks, at least in general, as I've seen, computer scientists, we have this inner desire, it seems, to help people. And that's something that you don't see kind of commonly portrayed. Mm-hmm. So what does computer science do? Why do we even have technology? Mm-hmm. We're hoping to somehow make our and everyone else's lives better, more efficient, right? So I think the common misconception here is that we're not a field where we connect much with the outside world, mm-hmm. where we don't talk to customers, right? We don't talk to clients, and sure, that can be the case. And if I don't want to say, if you don't enjoy people, don't do computer science. No, there's different roles, but that's one of the big misconceptions is, I have to be maybe an introvert. I actually consider myself an introvert, mm-hmm. and here I am doing a podcast, but we'll tackle that another time, right. Perhaps, but mm-hmm. It's kind of just that's one of the big things that's hard to get over
Mhm.
is that misconception.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So maybe
yeah,
going a little bit further,
sure.
common question I get, I would love to hear your perspective and share with the audience. And it kind of leads into the job question or career pathway. Can you differentiate or a computer scientist, software engineer, computer programmer? Is there overlap? Are they interchangeable terms? I'm curious to hear your perspective.
Sure. Yeah. So, computer programmer versus software engineer is almost always going to be just a job title
Hmm.
thing at companies.
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, you could probably find one, but I personally don't know of a company that has both.
Hmm.
Usually they'll just call their computing professionals who develop their software either software engineers or programmers.
Hmm.
And that depends, I guess, on how fancy they want to be and that kind of thing. So I would say software engineers are programmers. Programmers are software engineers. We're developing software.
Hmm.
What is the difference between maybe software engineering and computer science
Hmm.
is a kind of a good follow-up
Hmm.
maybe to that. And that's really more of a software engineering is a field of computer science,
Hmm.
and computer science is so much more than developing software. We develop software, we develop new like networking and security infrastructure. That's not necessarily programming. Like
Hmm.
programming is involved,
Hmm.
but it's a very different field.
Gotcha.
We're, getting beyond writing programs and into all the conceptual things
Hmm.
and the theoretical areas of computing where we don't really know what AI is going to do
Hmm.
in 5 years. We
Gotcha.
don't really know what the next even big software engineering kind of standard is going to be.
Hmm.
Who's going to make the next big breakthrough about how we design and develop software? It's also a lot of design there. So
Okay. All right.
lots of interesting things going on in the field for sure.
Okay. Thank you. So, carry on question. So, for prospective students interested in pursuing a career in computer science specifically, or educational path that leads to a career in computer science, what are some common key skills and, if appropriate, certifications that might help someone interested in starting in this pathway?
Yeah, absolutely. So computer science, because it is such a broad field, I will tell students get a breadth of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
What you want to do is you want to, if you really like a certain area, yeah, go down it, get that depth of knowledge. But in the field of computer science, when we're talking depth, we're talking masters. So
Mm-hmm.
I like the bachelor's level or even at the associate's level, you want a variety of skills.
Mm-hmm.
I have had the experience of hiring for an internship program in a company that I worked for, kind of managed the internship program.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the key skills was if somebody came in with students coming in for internships, if they did not have database experience,
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of a hard sell for us. You don't know the basics of running or managing or even connecting to and using a database, then that's a skill that we noticed
Mm-hmm.
was missing.
Gotcha.
So I always tell students database,
Mm-hmm.
do database,
Mm-hmm.
algorithms and data structures.
Mm-hmm.
Another great kind of piece that you're going to want to, study
Mm-hmm.
in computer science.
Mm-hmm.
As for certifications, a lot of computer science is going to look at more degree.
Mm-hmm.
And for this, the thing you really want to do is, if you
Mm-hmm.
know what you want to do for a living right
Mm-hmm.
now,
Mm-hmm.
go find those job postings and see what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Do they want the associates? Do they want the bachelors? Do they want the masters? What are they looking for qualification wise?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of more where we're at in computer science.
Right.
I feel like when you're at that associate's level, which is a great place to be for jobs for sure, you might have some certifications you can pick up to show your specialty in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, I would absolutely pursue that. But at computer science, once you have the 4-year degree, there's not further differentiation other than going for the master's in a specific area, I feel like.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then you've touched on it earlier, but of those skills that you mentioned, the ones you didn't really dive deep into are specific languages. And you did kind of allude to it earlier, but if you want to maybe go a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. So specific languages in computer science, I find the knowledge of programming paradigms and concepts behind the languages to be the important thing in computer science.
Okay.
So, for example, I do not have industry experience in Python.
Mm-hmm.
I have never used Python in industry
Mm-hmm.
setting at all.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't. I have not used Java in an industry setting at all. I've used PHP, and PHP was, interestingly, a course or a language that I had one class in college. And then it became like my main thing that I was doing for 7 years. And so really what happened then was using all these different languages, and I want to say I've used a dozen different languages by now. It's all those concepts behind the languages that become important. So you're going to find a little bit of a disadvantage in that also, though. So advantage is you know the concepts, you can pick up the language. You're going to have the disadvantage of I don't know some of the nuances of the language. You're going to have to pick that up. You're going to have to learn that. So if you really want to say, no, I want to be the best Java programmer that, the company I'm interviewing at has ever seen, then you're going to take a different path. You're going to go down that Java programming path, and that's going to look different.
Okay.
Right? But if you want to, get into the kind of the general field of computer science, expect to learn a lot of languages, expect to pick up languages. And, I'm still picking up languages. I think my most recent acquisition might actually have been Python that I started in 2018. So,
Okay. Gotcha.
yeah.
So one more question on that topic.
Sure.
Skills. You probably get it. I get it as well. Math skills for aspiring computer scientists. What can you share?
Yes. So math skills is a very kind of hot topic, I feel like, in computer science. In fact, the reason I feel like it's a hot topic is I like to go to the professional development conferences on teaching computing. And we almost always have a breakout session on math. What math is important? What do you need to know? And you'll see a lot of places, to get your degree, you have to have, calculus or Calc 1 or Calc 2 or, whatever. That depends. So one, yes, you have to study the math that your degree wants. What does industry need for math? That's going to depend a lot on what you end up doing. So are you going into like aerospace engineering, writing software for, NASA? You're going to want the math. Get the math, right? If you're going to go into, like I went into healthcare data analytics, algebra. It's all algebra. And anything more complicated, we actually had a math, PhD math person on staff who helped us out with some of that.
Gotcha.
So I would say if you like math, get as much as you can, because that you're going to be a little bit more marketable there. But I don't want to scare people away with the math.
Gotcha.
I don't want to be like, oh no, you have to do calculus. You might to get the the university to give you the degree, right? In fact, our transfer pathway, we actually handle all that. Expecting universities to want math, we take you through as much math as we can, which for a lot of destinations is all your math. And so I would say do that.
And I'll kind of go a little bit further as I
Sure,
continue to do.
please do, Art.
Yeah,
Please
so
do.
calculus specifically, and
Yeah.
we're seeing with our partner universities, Calc 2 used to be a requirement, and now that's being pared back, it seems like, regionally and nationwide in some cases.
It did.
Yeah.
It is a nationwide trend, to my knowledge. And that's just what I'm hearing in the computer education circles, is we are kind of cutting back nationwide, certainly. I can't really speak for worldwide. I don't follow that as closely. But Calc 2 is disappearing. The discrete math is kind of an invariant. That's always part of computing. And it's not something that even a lot of math majors will actually take. But yeah, we're definitely going down to Calc 1 pretty broadly, or you'll have some universities used to have, if you're doing computer science, you have to have a math minor. That's starting to go away as well as we come into this trend of what's called CS plus X. Could be a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, but just pairing computer science with things other than math, pairing computer science with biology or chemistry or some other CS plus X.
Okay, gotcha. And your personal thoughts? Do you think it's a good move or a bad move? Curious to know.
My personal thoughts, I never took calc, so I'm totally fine with doing the college algebra approach. It was not required for my degree program, bachelor's or master's at the time. That has changed at my degree granting institution, or maybe it's changed back. I haven't been following it. But I would say follow what you need for your degree. And if it was up to me to make the standards, I would be going up. I would probably do algebra, linear, and discrete.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so back to you teaching. Can you share with us throughout your experience as an instructor teacher? Have you had a rewarding or unforgettable moment that you can share with a student that's been pursuing a area of study with you?
I have had many of these. I've been teaching since 2017, even though only the last 2 years here at Metro, and there are rewarding experiences, multiple times every year. And it's great to see students, pursuing kind of the things that they want to. Specifically, one student I'm remembering, this is from one of my previous experiences before coming out here to Omaha. The student was really interested in doing unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, right? Drone software. So we actually created a drone independent study there. And I'd love to do something like that here at MCC. And so the student actually, because of that, ended up getting employed in that field.
Okay.
And so I've had that a couple times where students have done an independent study and gone on to employment. Here at MCC, I've had some students who have come to me wanting to do specific things, and I was able to write them letters of recommendation. They're talking to me. They're coming to office hours. They're letting me know kind of what they're interested in, and so then I'm able to kind of guide them a little bit in that. And so that happens several times a year, and I'm looking forward to it happening several more times in the coming years.
Okay.
For sure.
Gotcha. Sounds great. What about, can you share an interesting project or case study that you worked on with your courses that was, memorable for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was an interesting situation I ran into. One of the things that I really enjoy about teaching at a community college is I get to teach some of the dual credit classes. And it's kind of a little weird bringing up dual credit with transfers. You think, oh, that's kind of interesting. Some of our transfer pathway courses are being offered now in high schools in the area as dual credit. So you can get Computer Science 1, Metro, and your high school technology credit at the same time. Well, this class, we were actually doing Computer Science 2 here at a local high school. And they were kind of on a weird spring break schedule. And so we had a week we needed to fill in, essentially. And so I said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to break out into teams. Broke everybody out into teams. We set up everyone with Git repositories on GitHub. And we made a more complex software solution than we could have. Normally in class, we do collaboration and stuff, and that's really important, but not quite to this level. And it was nice to have that time to do that. And so I'm hoping now, based on that experience, to integrate that project into the course in the future.
Okay, cool. Sounds like a great experience.
It was, and the students enjoyed it, which is also important.
Gotcha. Okay, kind of wrapping up here. One last question for you. So
Absolutely.
The IT industry is constantly evolving, as we know. What do you do to stay current, and what are your thoughts on some of the latest trends and technologies in the CS space or IT in general?
Yeah, this is a very, very good thing to keep an eye on because you want to make sure that you're keeping up with whatever is happening in your field. So my field I consider to be two things. It's teaching and technology, right? So I have to keep up a lot with the teaching trends and conferences and stuff. But for our listeners who are probably in that tech side, not necessarily on the teaching side, professional development, conferences, getting out there and seeing what everyone else is doing is very important. It's hard because you've got your companies competing with these other companies is competing with it. Yet at a conference, you're all there to share the cool stuff that you're doing. And there's a lot of leeway in the company secrets. We don't really reveal the real secrets, but the way we work behind the scenes can kind of come out, right? And so a lot of these trends are like, okay, what are these big name companies actually working on? What are they actually doing? What are they using for software, and how are they organizing it? You see that come out at these conferences. So attend conferences. attend, conventions, whatever you want to call it. Professional development is very important. If you sit with your team in your building all day, every day, year after year, you're going to get behind. And that's not going to be good for the maintainability of your software and your systems long term.
Gotcha.
One experience I'll share real quick is in doing this in industry, working in healthcare data analytics, we actually got an opportunity to go into it was like a professional workshop thing that was offered by a local database company. And one of the things that they showed us was this new feature of theirs that required us to upgrade our PHP version, which is something that we had not done in a while because you always have the fear that stuff's going to break. And so I got another developer on the team on board, and we told our developer manager, we said, hey, can we just have a month to work on this? Me and this other person, if we can get our whole system switched over to the new version, can we just do it? And if not, whatever. And that came out of, experiences like this. So if you don't take advantages of these, professional development conference things, again, you're going to get behind, and that's important to stay up on these trends. It ended up, we were able to actually increase the efficiency of our system significantly from doing this. So picture, we had this big push of trying to make our system more efficient, and the thing that finally worked was upgrading our PHP version in the end, which is quite a kind of a hilarious turn of events, as it were.
Okay, so one wrap-up question.
Absolutely.
AI, education, tech sector, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so general thoughts on AI. AI is weird, all right? It's weird because you have so many differing perspectives and opinions on it. So I'm going to give you mine, and this is purely opinion, and that is, I think AI is something that we should approach in a cautiously optimistic way. There's lots of cool things that AI can do. There's lots of things that AI is going to make it actually more difficult to do. And we've already started seeing that with things like authenticating video and audio, right? We're starting to see AI be used for, I don't want to call these nefarious purposes because it's honestly like people posting little skits on like TikTok, right? Where they have, these AI generated, there's like celebrities or they use celebrity voices to try to, fool people into calling them and they think it's funny, right? But that's actually happening. You actually are able to go to these AIs and do things like that or generate this content. And a lot of the AI content is not necessarily actually accurate. And so that's the problem I see with AI is we're coming into this a little more into the you can't trust things, which is a little bit of a tangent here. A weird turn in that before, cameras, well, what can you trust? And then we had cameras. It's like, well, if you have a picture of it, right? And then Photoshop happened. And it's like, well, now if you have a picture of it, who knows? Well, then we kind of had ways of telling if something was Photoshopped. And now we've got AI that's kind of circumventing that again. We're kind of coming back around to that. There are lots of good things, a lot of good things about AI. And I think AI as a tool is going to take off. And so there's the benefits here are really, we don't have to know everything to be able to effectively maybe use an AI that sort of does know everything. Not that we don't have to learn things, but we can't learn everything. And so if we can leverage AI to still help us make things with this knowledge that we don't have, then that's great. Right? That's great. I think that would be wonderful. But something that we're not quite sure how that's going to work out yet.
Gotcha.
So,
And
yeah.
one last quick question. In the classroom, AI, yes, no, maybe. Your thoughts?
Well, I have had a lot of experiences with AI in the classroom so far. Most, unfortunately, have been negative experiences. I am still looking for a way to help students use AI in the courses. So far, mostly the AI has been used to do work that students would need to do to know the material, which is my ultimate goal, teaching the material. I did have a student who sent me an email that they had an AI write, which that was new for me, and that's actually the only one that I know of, and that was simply because the student actually included the like regenerate response button in their copy paste at the bottom of their email. And I was like, wait, regenerate response? I've seen that. It was actually, kind of nice because we are kind of going into this actual time when we can use AI for benefit. And if you're talking about, hey, I want to write a professional email to somebody, maybe that's a good use of it. But mostly it's been, unfortunately, negative experiences so far in the classroom. I'm looking at leveraging AI to maybe generate novel assignments for students that'll keep students engaged and interested.
Gotcha. Okay. I love it.
So,
I love that. We're going to talk more about it. So,
oh, absolutely.
all right. Well, Ben, thank you. Again, closing another book on our engaging chapter of MCC Office Hours. So thankful to have you give time to us today and share your thoughts and experiences. And of course, a tip of our hat to our listeners today. We're glad to have everyone join us and continue to watch us. So before you hit pause, every Friday afternoon, we will publish a new episode of our podcast to kick off your weekend. Huge thanks again to Ben, and we hope you join us again soon. Thank you.